Yeah. Oh, that was fast. If you welcome to Fantastic Productions. Hey, everybody, it's your boy Chris. Welcome back to another episode of the Off Air Podcast live via the Discord call. How's it going, John? Yeah. Oh, hey. We should. There's some. Well, but before we get into news and talking about, yeah, talking about issues with Zoom, talking and how this is what episode is this? Like episode 26, something like that. But yeah, this is definitely different. I will apologize now in advance, if for any connection issues. I don't know how this is gonna work out. We've never done it this way before. Obviously, normally we're in person. It's just you know uh just audio over our backdrop and screen share. This is the first time that we've shown our faces on the podcast, and the podcast has been around for over a year now. Yeah, it's interesting. It's weird. It's also the first time that we did it and we weren't in the same room. And this is also the first time that it's being streamed from our new space that I am in and you are not. Oh, nice. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Hmm. I really wonder how. I really wonder how this is going to look because, well, I mean, I can change how the how well, yeah, but I can change how the screen looks because right now it's sharing my screen. So right now you are taking up most of the frame. uh, sure. I mean, I can change it to myself. It doesn't really matter, but probably just go about it. Probably go about it just judging by how the conversation goes, and uh, you know, maybe this might not be such a bad way to do things, even though it's more convenient for us to do it traditionally. This might not be a bad viewing experience, but we'll see. But anyway, where? Yeah, yes. But so how who, you want to start? Should I start? I got a lot of topics, a lot of tech news we need to go over from the past month. Mm. I should really use notes. Oh God, look at you being all organized. Okay. Sure, of course. Really? Interesting. Does that mean Tony Hawk is going to get a shoe, or I guess well, I guess it's a business merger between the two companies, which is interesting. Because that's I can't think of a single skate company that produces both shoes and boards. Like none of this would make it like like a monopoly. It's closer to an oligopoly, in fact, even though it's similar industry. Huh? So Tony Hawk is getting his own shoe. Ooh, I wonder what that'll be. Actually, I want to say he had a shoe before, but I think it was like a limited thing. Interesting, interesting. Especially considering that Tony Hawk, it would be one of very few. In fact, when I think about it, I want to say the only skater that would now be on Vans that is primarily a transition skater, aside from Steve Cab, of course. who was also with what was it board company that's been around forever that Tony Hawk used to be on. Um, Made the bull riding boards back in the day.
Yeah, right now it's saying that he's now an official global brand ambassador.
Interesting. That's cool
So
stuff.
whenever he's gonna be rolling out, he'll be wearing the new stuff.
That's cool stuff. I'm really curious as to what that's gonna be like. Now,
And then,
oh,
sorry,
sure.
one quick transition to the tech news. You know how we always talk about Crisis and how no toaster can run it?
Yeah, like
So,
Crisis 3. Yeah,
well, Crisis 2.
yeah.
Yeah, recently the company that made the game, Crytek, they used to work for EA, made a big announcement this week.
Go
They're
on.
remaking Crisis 1,
Oh,
and it's coming to Switch
ooh,
on the brand
multi-platform
new
remake.
Crytek engine.
Jesus.
And that game was it was insanely massive when you first played it.
Yeah. I mean, if we were able to bring The Witcher 3 to the Switch, I imagine it can run a remake of Crisis 1.
Best way I can describe it is basically trying to fuel your computer with vodka.
It works
It's
though.
hard. It's hard, but it works.
But it works more effective than water, in fact, for cooling.
Don't ask how.
No. Um. So, but before we go too much further into our tech news, because we have a lot to talk about, we haven't really had the show in over a month now. Um. I posted a video recently on my personal channel, and we've been talking about it quite a bit on social media lately. That our company, Phantastic Productions, we started a fundraiser, and all the proceeds are going to Project Cure, the world's leading nonprofit dedicating to providing hospitals with supplies and equipment. The link for that will be in the description, both if you're listening to this on Anchor and if you're watching this on YouTube. And on Twitch, I have my Twitter feed um, below in the panel. You'll see a link for the fundraiser there as well. So any and all donations um,
Go
through
directly to them,
yeah
100%
yeah
tax deductible as well.
I don't know about that.
It is. I double checked.
Through GoFundMe.
Well,
It
yeah,
would have to be it would have to be for clarification. It would have to be through GoFundMe,
yeah.
which is
That's the part.
yeah which is what the fundraiser sponsored on. So just quick PSA on that. Um, so we were talking you were just talking about how Crysis is coming to the Switch, and there's been some various recent news going on with the Switch. So for one, um, in a recent there was some
Announcements.
well, not just announcements, but in recent in coding in the recent updates have been alluding to a next generation, or rather a another hardware model of the Switch, possibly a Switch Pro. There's no confirmation on it quite yet, but there's talk.
Um, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Hmm. Why's that?
It's been rumored since Switch Lite has been was first rumored.
But this
So, but seeing how successful this model was, it's gonna be a slightly bigger screen. I believe it's gonna be 1080 screen because right now if you play it without the dock, it plays at 720.
John, we're not talking about the same thing.
The Switch Pro.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. No, sir. Yes, the Switch Pro has been something that's been talked about too for a while now. This update is talking about a possible variation of either a non-portable version of the Switch that would play at higher resolution, on a television or monitor at home, or
Oh, so
or a portable version with two screens. So we're talking about either a Switch Lite similar to like a 2DS or a basically a bulkier at home version of the Switch to play higher resolution, higher frame rate settings in games.
Hmm.
So different a possible different variation. Um,
My money can't handle this.
I mean, it's already going towards tons of games. Also, in terms of a gaming hardware, there's been talk about Valve. Um, well, apparently Valve went about a new patent towards the Steam controller. Talking about a modular design for the Steam controller. In fact, now I I don't know about you, but I've never been. I never really saw the big idea around the Steam controller and the Steam box. I don't think it's necessary, personally.
Well, it was making it more. How can I say this? You know how people are trying to make consoles more like PCs?
Sure, yeah,
This was like the opposite, where we were trying to make PC gaming into more consoleware.
I guess. But do people want that?
It's a lot of people sometimes can't afford all of this stuff for the computer.
Fair
This
enough.
one you can buy a much cheaper version, and if I remember correctly, with the Steam box, you can upgrade it modularly. So it will be the first console you can upgrade on your own,
I guess that was a
like
cool.
a whole new generation.
I guess it's a cool idea. I just don't know how practical it is for like or how big the market is. And this is just me kind of criticizing it from a business perspective, not just like from a gaming perspective. It's just I don't know. I
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if the market is. It's a cool idea. I just don't know if the market is that big there because you can do everything that a Steam box would do. You can do with the PC, and you can build a PC for cheaper than a next gen console.
well, a lot again, it was trying to appeal to people who are not PC experts,
I guess. Yeah.
but
Come with instructions and all that.
it would come in pre-built. I
Okay.
believe it also came installed with Alienware,
Hmm.
or I think it was a Alienware was supplying most of the part.
Yeah. I don't know. I get it. It just seems like a very specific niche that I don't know a lot of people fall into.
Well, remember, Steam, well, Valve themselves have been experimenting a lot with technology,
Hmm. Of course.
especially with how quickly they've been pushing against VR. I mean, if I look up the the Valve Vive,
Yeah. The HTC Vive.
yeah, HTC Vive, it's very powerful for a VR set.
Oh, absolutely. It's in its own league.
I mean, I'm looking at the Cosmo Elite, which is $1,200. It's pretty hefty because it comes with two controllers that track your finger movements.
Mm-hmm.
The bases only comes with two, but you can easily design your room how it is. I feel like I'm advertising for them.
I mean, it's a beast of a VR system. It,
It's because I'm trying to pull up like the specs on it.
mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yes, both screens on the inside are 4K, so you can play the games on 4K. So it's minimizing motion blur and headaches.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's definitely a pretty like I Valve definitely has the resources to go about some pretty impressive introductions to hardware, in that field, um, and with this new patent for the um, Steam controller. I don't know. A lot of people didn't really like the like specifically, I guess for the controller. A lot of people didn't really like it when it first came out, with it being more touchpad based. But now they're making it to where it can be modular, or at
Yeah,
least supposedly.
Valve is always up to allowing the consumer to adjust whatever they want on their product.
Yeah, no, they're definitely one for modular means for gaming, and that's one thing that is appreciated. Sometimes not appreciated enough by other companies in the community as a whole. Um, in other news, Apple did a thing.
Oh no.
They
Yes, I saw.
you
I
saw
heard about it. I didn't read into it.
you saw they did a thing, like a thing they haven't done in like 4 years now.
I wonder why.
I can understand why. In fact, it's kind of huge when you think about it. That they finally put out a cheap phone.
But
They,
why? Why would
oh,
they do that?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why.
Sell me this phone.
Well, here's the thing. We're talking, of course, about the iPhone SE 2. There was no way we were gonna get on here and not talk about it. Everyone's talking about it right now, and there's been recent impressions about it. So essentially, it is a well, it's very it's all the like base model things you can think about with an iPhone. It's basically like my phone, like the iPhone 7. It's a lot like that. It even has the same top and bottom bezels, and they brought back the home button because of it. So with that, they actually brought back Touch ID, which is interesting. That they haven't had Touch ID now like the last Touch ID phone that they released was the iPhone 8, which was the budget phone. Um, so now they brought back Touch ID, the same top and bottom bezels, um, like so,
Mm.
and
Oh,
but
oh.
but here's what's really separating it. This is what really makes it a bargain. Is that it uses the same A13 Bionic chip, the same CPU as the iPhone 11 Pro, and the phone is only $399. So the idea around this, why they're going about giving such another low end phone, which I mean the last iPhone SE came out back in 2016. It was basically a like a it was basically another iPhone 5 at the time. It even looked almost identical to the iPhone 5, maybe a little bit longer, and this one is also longer too. I want to say I'll pull up the specs really quick because I don't want to
Oh,
I want to check my facts.
by the way, I got the names wrong
Hmm.
for the Valve VR.
Yeah, what's that?
They used at the beginning they were partnering with HTC. Now they're making their own.
Oh, okay. Kind of like kind of like what Google did back in the day with the Pixel, that before they were doing HTC, and now they have their own hardware, and that's also
Yeah,
something I'm
now
talking about really quick.
it's the Valve Index, not the HTC Vive.
Oh,
But they're still making their own stuff.
how long have we been making? How long have we been calling it the Vive, and wasn't even called that anymore?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not that big. Here's the specifications on it. John, you can't see my screen, but the viewers can. It's 4 points.
And again,
Okay. So it's 4.7 inches. The screen. So it is an OLED panel, which thank God that they didn't do the same liquid LCD panel they did back on the iPhone XR. Anyway, so it is an OLED panel, 4.7 inches. It's 750 by 1334 in resolution, which is it's all right. It's not the greatest in it's not quality HD, but it's close. Um, and a 3.26 ppi, pixel density, which is actually still better than the iPhone XR. Which the issue, I mean, we talked about it before. The iPhone XR had the same PPI as the iPhone 4, so they did improve the PPI as well as a pretty good resolution for the small panel, and also has that A13 Bionic chip. So it is a pretty good bargain. The only thing that kind of makes it really cheap is I want to say, well, for one, you're not going to get the same battery life, of course. I'm almost positive it doesn't have the same like I want to say like 4,000 some odd milliamp hour battery. It's not big enough to hold a battery that big, obviously, in comparison to the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro Max. Um, Oh, okay. So the battery is that's not great. So the battery is a 1960 milliamp hour. Not so it's not a big battery, and the RAM is only 3 gigs, the same as the iPhone 7. So that's really the sacrifice you're making with it. Um, is the RAM and the battery. The storage is okay. It starts at 64 gigs. I want to say you can upgrade to 128, which is kind of low for today's standards. But with cloud storage, helps a little bit. Just use Google Photos. So, but yeah, it's still it's still a really affordable phone for what you're getting, considering considering the processing, the storage, and the resolution. And you are still getting a 12 megapixel camera, but it's only the one wide angle camera module. You're not getting a ultra wide or a telephoto by any means with this. It's the same. It's pretty much the same camera that you and I have with the previous generation iPhones. Maybe I want to say slightly better in terms of resolution, but so you'll still get 4K 30 video and of course 12 megapixel photos. So you're not going to get that 16 or dare I say 48, 108 megapixel photos you're getting with other flagships, but this isn't a flagship phone. In fact, it's a very cheap phone at $399. That's like I think that finances for like $16 a month. It's a little bit more than like your Netflix subscription. Speaking of Netflix and other services, streaming services, so there is still a lot of free expansions and for due to the pandemic and a lot of people staying at home. Netflix did in fact we talked about this last episode that Netflix extended their free trials. However, Verizon and AT&T also extended rather if you call and ask, only if you call and ask, they are not charging overage on cellular data. So you can have unlimited cellular data if you call and ask. It's not like a provided thing, which I don't know why that is. Kind of good things come to people who ask, right? That and what I'm most excited about, and I just found out about this yesterday. I want to say it's very recent, probably the most recent out of these, is that Hulu, according to various subscriptions, Hulu is now has HBO shows on there for free. I started watching The Wire. It's great.
I'm about to start watching some of their great originals. Shoot, what was it? I had one last night that I was gonna start watching.
I don't know if Chernobyl is on there. I gotta check because I never finished Chernobyl.
I was actually gonna start watching The Sopranos.
Oh, The Sopranos is on there too for free. Yeah, yeah. So essentially, if you have Hulu without ads, you have access to the HBO library, whereas before you had to pay extra for HBO as an additional subscription. Excuse me. So there's that. And I want to say that also comes with a few films and comedy specials as well, and even John Oliver's Last Week Tonight as well. Even though the episodes are also on YouTube, but
Not all of them.
not all of them, but a few of the recent ones. And I mean it's news, so you want to keep up with the recent ones.
They're more clips because there's actually other topics he talks about it.
I guess so. I watched a 20-minute episode yesterday on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
I want to say to keep up with it weekly, and so you can't you can't binge them. You can't binge them, but you can stay up with the recent news through him. Yeah, and of course his team is still broadcasting from home. And last week was it? SNL, Saturday Night Live, they had a episode filmed from home. All of the sketches, including it was hosted by Tom Hanks, who has made a recovery from the COVID virus. Thank God, America's dad still lives. For now, hold on, partner. But yeah, SNL, the most recent episode live from home. All of the sketches, including Last Week Tonight and their musical appearance, were all recorded from home. They did a lot of They did all their sketches recorded from home and videos. Um, none of, yes. So with that, they only had two live sketches. All of them were pre-recorded. The rest of them were pre-recorded. Yeah, I want to say it was only two, maybe three live sketches that they did from Zoom. So should we talk about Zoom now that I brought it back up?
I really don't want to talk about them, but we could.
It just is a quick thing.
Yeah.
So basically, because a lot of people are using Zoom for business and for communicating with their families, you know, with it being multi-platform. The problem with Zoom is that in the last few weeks they've been going about fixing a lot of privacy issues, both for Mac and Windows users. So for Mac, there were several bugs, and hackers were actually accessing people's microphones and webcams. They were getting full access to those, so they were able to, hackers were able to see and hear what you were saying without actually being within your meetings or calls. Um, Whereas with Windows, hackers were accessing personal data such as emails,
Yeah,
and as well as basically your user information. Your user information was being put at risk. So this is kind of a big deal, considering that especially businesses, a lot of businesses that are using Zoom for meetings. You could always use Teams, or I don't know, Discord for,
or Skype.
or even Skype is doing great too. Microsoft,
Right now, my job still uses that.
I believe it. I mean, Microsoft is working pretty hard to keep Skype as a usable platform to compare with Discord and let alone Zoom, um, and Teams. Of course, a lot of companies will still use Teams for conference calls. But yeah, they have been going about fixes, but apparently, um, they're uh, well, if you want to know who got involved, who they hired to go out their fixes, they got Facebook's team.
Oh no.
Yeah, so if you want,
Well, their privacy, they never mentioned this, but it kept sending information to Facebook anyways,
yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, that's the issue, is that Facebook has historically been notorious for all kinds of privacy issues. I mean, it was just last year that front-facing cameras were being accessed and turned on in the background for iPhone users using Facebook. This was literally like 6 months ago that we were talking about this, and here we are. Oh, they're working on Zoom. Great. Oh God.
I think someone should make a song about this.
Not me.
You know, you're the best where history repeats itself.
Oh God.
Anyways, talk about technology
Yes.
and COVID.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the gaming giant that came to a screeching halt.
Okay.
E3.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna bring up a company that's not much better, but yes, E3 has been officially canceled.
Well, hold on. What was that? Right now, Rockstar's in hot water. We'll talk about them in a bit.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, John. Look at me. I'm telling you right now. Talking. We're not talking about what you sent me in the middle of the night. We're not talking about them. We're not talking.
I'm voting.
We're
I'm
not.
voting.
We're not.
I don't want. I don't see it.
I,
What about
I don't want to talk about Bethesda, John. I don't want to do it.
you brought it up?
I ain't gonna do it.
No. E3 first came to basically for 25 years. It's Electronics Entertainment Expo.
Yes.
This is the first year where originally they were gonna they were planning to do a online showcase,
Yes.
and then I believe 2 weeks ago they made the decision to outright cancel it.
Afraid
So
so.
for the first time in 25 years, they will not be having a expo.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that they didn't even go about keeping the idea of keeping it virtual because a lot of other companies are still maintaining virtual panels. Or at least we're
Because all the other companies are going to do their own panels.
exactly. Well, okay, I understand that that's the
So
response.
at that point, Twitch takes over and makes their own showcase
Right,
because
right,
everyone's streaming on Twitch.
right. Yeah. Essentially, yeah. Twitch is going about its own showcase. Streamers are going to be commentating on various showcase. I'm still looking forward to. I'm still hoping that Carson does something commentating on various panels done by Sony and Bethesda and Microsoft.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think he's gonna be doing anything soon.
Fair enough. I mean, a lot of us, a lot of creatives are bringing their work to a screeching halt. We I mean, obviously, we had to improvise with this whole thing with the podcast, and let alone our photography portfolios outside of that. We've actually started a wait list on that too for various local artists and companies and anyone that needs photography done. We started a wait list just to still have business going on later and to maintain the safety of both us and our clients. A lot of creatives, especially freelancers and YouTubers alike, are uh, kind of suffering right now from their work. Some some of us can still go about some work. Obviously, we're improvising, and a lot of streamers can still go about their work. But yeah, but with E3, yeah, obviously the issue is that all the companies are doing their own panels. Those that would normally be the big those who normally host the big panels at E3 are now being independent for this year. So that and E3 lost a lot of their main executives this year, coming up to this whole thing before the pandemic was even in full swing at this point. And we talked about that. I can't remember if it was last episode or the one prior.
Sorry about that. And another topic earlier this week. Hold on, let me pull this up before I make myself look like an ass.
Sure. You gotta check your facts, man. Check your facts. We're live.
Yes. All right. As of basically 2 days ago,
Mm-hmm.
San Diego Comic Con has been canceled
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
for July.
Comic Con is, ooh, yeah. I mean, that's pretty far ahead. But I mean, all of these, postponings and cancellations are only getting further ahead. I mean, um, there's no telling how long this is going to be, and it's definitely not going to be any sort of like V shape recovery. It's gonna be a slow one. Like this, you're crazy for thinking that everything's gonna go back to normal one day overnight or even within a week. It's gonna take a long time for everything to go back. A lot of specialists are saying, but both between you know economic analysts as well as those researching treatment, we're talking about several months of a recovery towards um, returning to the status quo. And even then, we can look at a lot of big changes. I mean, I could definitely see this pandemic affecting uh, the world as we know it afterwards, with it being, I don't know, I can see it I can see it being a big change for business, for one, that people will be even more reliant on services to home, whether it be like deliveries and streaming, um, a lot of services that have to do with keeping people at home that have become more uh, prominent now due to this event. I can see business continuing in that direction
Right.
due to people's awareness. Of course, people are eventually gonna go back outside the way they normally would, but um, this creates like the same, like, for example, the same way that the economic collapse in 2008 created opportunity for businesses such as Uber. um, we can see a kind of shift like that as well, especially considering how affected the economy and and humanity internationally as a whole.
Speaking about people affected by this,
Hmm.
I actually just got this brought up again on my list. Um, what's it called? Back to Valve. Valve has lost a voice actor to the COVID virus.
Oh, really?
Uh, Actor Rick May, he voices the soldier in Team Fortress 2,
Oh,
and he was the voice of Pepe here in Star Fox 64.
holy shit! I never realized that.
Yeah, Team Fortress 2 community had an actual memorial for him like the other day.
Wow. Wait, so
Uh, yeah,
so he passed?
yeah, he died from the virus
Wow, that's unbelievable.
on the 13th.
That's unbelievable. Rest in peace.
It's we're a lot of people don't realize this. Um, how can I say this? The world is in a new phase. The new normal is basically this for now. Like
This is this is
big concerts and stuff like that are not gonna happen for a long time.
oh yeah, this is a certain norm for a significant term. You know, I mean, if you look at it, here's the thing. I mean, if you because you can look at it in terms of you can look at it in terms of a long term in terms of years, in which case this isn't so bad. But I mean, for a lot of us, they need to keep in mind what's going to be going on months from now due to just the way just the direction that the life is taking us, and keeping up with the status quo with a lot of people are out of work. One in ten Americans are unemployed. In fact, there's even more. Before it was 6.6 million. Now I want to say it's at 10 million or more that are
I believe it's we actually recently crossed 16 million.
Jesus. So it's staggering numbers if you look at it in terms of um of where we're going to be in several months, especially that we're in the middle of an election year. I don't want to get too political with this, but if we're talking about the conversation of the grand scope of how the pandemic is affecting everyday life and where we're going to be months from now, and years from now, there, we're definitely gonna feel the effects, and this is gonna be this type of thing is gonna be the norm for the next several months. There's even talk about it being the norm for the rest of this year or further. In fact, uh, education systems are already talking about the next semester for colleges in the next year for primary education to remain online within that entire time, which can create a lot of complications for students and teachers alike. But that's just an example to give an idea as to how long this is going to be the norm, um, and how much of it lies in mystery for where we'll be between now and next year, and how things are going to be like how things are going to be like on the other side of this years down the line, because we need to keep that in mind too.
Sorry.
Camera's on you. Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's my TED talk. Sorry.
All right. Since you made your TED talk, I'll see you in 4 years from YouTube recommendations.
Huh?
Let's see it on my recommendation 4 years from now.
I hope so. Hey.
And I'm like,
Eh,
it's
hey,
weird.
it will be better numbers than I'm getting right now. I'm telling you right now.
No, no.
Yeah.
Set your bar a little. And then when you set that lower, you're thinking too high stuff.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that encouragement. A fellow colleague of this company.
I have to bring you down so you can kick yourself back up.
Uh, okay.
Why the? Okay. Sorry, I have guests that just came over my house.
No. How about that timing? It can't be any more quiet on my side over here. I'm in the furthest corner of my house. Um, so I did say earlier about Google. Um, and what did I say earlier about Google? I said something because I have two more topics that I want to bring up before we close.
Their phone.
I was talking about. I mean, so we talked about the Pixel 4a last episode. There hasn't been much of any updates on that, but I guess in refreshing for people who don't know about the Pixel 4a's leak from last time or don't remember. Basically, we're looking at a very affordable phone, similar to like the iPhone SE. It's gonna compete with that one. Oh, I don't remember what I'll say, but I'll get to it in a second. So, uh, so yeah, an refresher of the Pixel 4a, actually similar to the iPhone SE. It's gonna be one wide-angle camera module, very similar specifications, 12 megapixel, with the same quality and portrait capabilities. Um, and night photography capability supposedly as the iPhone, rather as the Pixel 4 and Pixel 4 XL, and they're bringing back the Touch ID again, similar to the iPhone SE. They're bringing back Touch ID on the back, um, and also they got rid of the forehead. Like a lot of people didn't like the big bezel at the top of the Pixel 4. The 4a has a punch hole front camera similar to like the Samsung Galaxy S10, where it's like in the corner of the screen. Um, but I would just say with Google and also with Apple, but first with Google. So Google uh, recently developed a new Google's making a CPU. Google officially made their own processor that they're looking at um, using for the next Pixel and um, and Chromebook lines. It is a ARM processor, which is good news for their phone, but I don't think it's good news for the laptops. I don't think. I mean, okay, so ARM. For those that don't know, ARM is a smaller component, eight core CPU that's been used recently for um, the Microsoft Surface. What was it? Uh, not the not the Surface Pro, the Pro X, the smaller one. It uses an ARM processor as well as they used it recently, or rather Apple used it recently on the smaller version of their MacBook. Um, the issues with ARM initially, because Microsoft put it out first, along with AMD. It was an AMD ARM processor, I want to say. The problems with it is that it runs the applications run at a smaller bit rate. So, for example, Adobe was one of the first companies to go adapting their softwares for ARM, but they had to go from taking all their editing softwares like Premiere Pro and After Effects, and they had to shrink them down. They had to collapse them down into a 32-bit format, which is a lot more watered down in comparison to the full 64-bit versions. It's cut in half. However, Apple and apparently Google have been able to adapt their applications much more similarly. What's weird about this though is that Google is making this ARM CPU for their next mobiles independently. They're not working with AMD or Intel, which I mean Google traditionally has been a software company, not necessarily so renowned for their hardware outside of maybe people argue Pixel. Um, so I mean, we'll see how it goes with them putting out a CPU. Who knows? Google inside, right? I don't know.
There can only be two.
They're only Team Red and Team Blue. No team primary colors plus green. I don't know. But also in news with Google and Apple. So Google and Apple teamed up to create a system that basically what's it called? I don't want to get the wrong. Let me pull it up actually. So Google and Apple recently have been working on an application, a tracking application to go about keeping up with people who have been in contact with COVID-19. This is the response, and what's weird about it is that Google and Apple are working on it together, not independently. This is never the competitors, the two giants aside from Microsoft. They're working together, which is weird, but yeah. This is a response to, so it's called contact tracing, and it's used through Bluetooth. It's a Bluetooth-based um, tracing for, traces contact between different devices. Um, Basically, it traces the location of different devices in order to keep up with how people have been in contact with people who have the virus. It's not perfect, and it could pose a privacy risk. This is definitely another one of those things where it's asking us some moral questions, because it's in, good intentions, but it's in question of compromising privacy, because this has to do with location of your devices, primarily, of course, your mobile devices, your smartphones, and tablets that are always on us. So it's another thing where it's tracking our locations, and more importantly, tracking our locations with other people. So it creates this intricate web of tracing. It's in good intention tracing the virus, but it's weird. So here's an article on it from Wired. When Google and Apple announced last week that the two companies are building changes into Android and iOS to enable Bluetooth-based COVID-19 contact tracing, they touched off an immediate firestorm of criticisms. the the notion of a Silicon Valley scheme to monitor yet another metric of our lives raised immediate questions about the system's practicality and its privacy. Now it's time to seek answers. So, yeah, like I said, it's a Bluetooth-based implementation to their. So it's not an application. It's an implementation to their operating systems. That's the bigger deal, because it's not something you can just turn on. They're adding it to the OS of all of their mobile devices. So yeah, Apple and Google say that starting next month, they'll add new features to their mobile operating systems that make it possible for certain approved apps run by government health agencies, to use Bluetooth radios to track physical proximity between phones. So it's tracing the location between each device to the other. If someone later receives a positive COVID-19 diagnosis, they can report it through the app, and many users who have been in recent contact will receive a notification. The system is Bluetooth only, fully. I mean, we're talking about fully opt-in, but is it opt-in really? If your Bluetooth is on and you're using these operating systems, which you are, you either have an iPhone or an Android, and unless you're using what is it, COS, the flip phone thing that people are using in India. Anyway, this is an implementation to the operating system based on the Bluetooth. So you can have your Bluetooth off and not have to worry about it, and you can not use the application, so you're not staying on top of the tracing itself. However, it is still part of the operating system, so it still raises some questions.
It's a lot of people are gonna argue back and forth what's worth it and what's not.
Yeah, because this is on one hand, it's in good terms, because it is run by governmental health agencies. So like the CDC will be able to look at this type of data. It's that type of thing. But it is still another one of those things where people who really value their privacy, which is only getting more and more compromised in this day and age, may feel a conflict here. Whereas at the same time, this is an effort to slow down the spread of the virus. Whereas a lot of people argue, well, it's worth it, so that way we can still do something to flatten the curve and what have you, and protect people. Apparently collects no location data from users and no data at all from anyone without positive COVID-19 diagnosis. So Apple and Google chose perhaps the most privacy friendly of many different schemes that could allow automated smartphone contact tracing, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's private enough or practical. Security and privacy focused technologists have pointed to a long list of potential flaws in Apple and Google systems, including techniques that could reveal the identities of COVID 19 positive users or help advertisers track them, false positives from trolls, mistaken self diagnosis, faulty signals between phones. So okay, so basically it's imperfect not just because so they are keeping some privacy issues in, in concern such
in
as
mind and stuff like that.
yeah, so just location and what have you. However, it's also based on the trust system that it only works if people who actually use the virus say that they have it. It's kind of like AIDS in the 80s, only totally different.
It's not working like that.
But no, but you see, sorry, but like you see what I mean, that it's based on the honor system, that it only works if people who use the system and have it say that they have it, and people who don't have it don't lie about having it. uh I gotta plug in my laptop. That, and also of course faulty signals between Bluetooth. Various phones won't have the same Bluetooth capabilities, so they won't always be as effective. And Bluetooth in general, with it being wavelengths, can be interrupted in various locations. Because this is tracing between devices. So let's say like if you and I are in the same room, obviously it's going to be traced through this system. However, if you and I are, you know, from either side of a cement building, that can create issues, especially if I have a phone with Bluetooth 5.0 and you have one with 3 or 4.0 or lower. That can create further issues. Judging by how effective this whole thing can work.
What was I gonna say? Speaking about new technology
Yeah.
and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you a throwback.
Okay.
Let me bring it back. You ever played on PlayStation 3?
Of course.
Have you ever played a small thing called PlayStation Home?
PlayStation Home.
Yeah.
What about it?
There is currently a project to restore it completely.
Really?
Uh, yeah, because the thing went offline a couple years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but a group of modders has been able to revive half of the stuff on it.
How did? How? Like,
Well,
it,
here's
like all in configuration of a PlayStation 3, or would you be able to get it on a PlayStation 4? Like, what is
no,
this? Okay.
it's in the PlayStation 3.
Okay. Okay.
The thing, it comes how can I say that, pre-baked into the system,
Right.
and then all the stuff is coming off of the servers.
I see.
But they're able to kickstart most of the stuff on the game and rediscover stuff within the project. Right now, it's called Project Destination Home. Basically, they're trying to preserve the history of PlayStation Home.
That's pretty cool. So basically, PlayStation modders have been going into the system of of PlayStation
PlayStation
3,
itself.
of the PlayStation 3 itself specifically, and reviving the codes for PlayStation Home. It just it's going to have a limitation based on server availability.
Fine. Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. That's actually really cool.
It
I wouldn't know
it's
I wouldn't know the first part about going about a project like that. That's awesome.
it's a lot of these projects with preservation because a lot of stuff I watch on YouTube as well. I'm between the meantime where I'm either sleeping, working, or not working out.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes find myself watching preservation videos, like someone has the original Xbox developer kit,
Yeah. Wow.
as a first person shooter.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like all that stuff. Like there's actual museums preserving like the history of gaming.
That's awesome.
Oh, that same channel actually has Skyrim, not Skyrim. Oblivion Adventures on the PlayStation portable PSP.
Oh my god, I forgot that it even existed.
It never existed.
No, but I remember there being talk about it because I remember, Jesus, this was so long ago because I remember comparing it to, um, Redguard. Did you ever know about Elder Scrolls Redguard, the mobile game?
No.
That game actually happened. It's not great, and it was back before Oblivion, so it's a pretty old game. I want to say it was on the original Nintendo DS. Um,
Another channel I watch is his name is Oddheader, and he briefly touched on a game that I never knew existed.
mm-hmm.
It's a Kingdom Hearts game
What?
on the Verizon mobile network.
Wait, no, really? That's amazing.
I think it was called like Kingdom. Hold on, let me pull up the name.
Are you able to share your screen on your side?
Yes.
Because if you can share your screen, then we can see it on my end.
I found it. I found
Oh
it.
my god.
All right. Share screen. There you go. It's called the Kingdom Hearts VCast.
What? Look at that.
Yeah, like people have been trying to
Oh
figure
my
out
god.
because it doesn't exist.
Wow. I can imagine. Wow. Do you remember watching Disney 365 on Disney Channel?
I still have that tune in my head.
Disney 365.
365.
Yeah.
I remember when they first announced like the
I,
submarine.
I can I can see this being in like a quick thing on Disney 365 back then. That is amazing. Oh man, I still have like my old Motorola Razor from back then. I like also Motorola. So a quick thing Motorola news, that they recently, or apparently they're putting out another new different smartphone. Apparently they're making the Motorola Edge, which apparently is going to be a new smartphone with a waterfall screen, which is interesting
Right.
because that was a thing that Samsung did back in 2015, and now they got rid of it in their new Samsung Galaxy. Everyone is now, oh, we're over the waterfall screen gimmick. So, Motorola is over here like Internet Explorer, like, hey, we got it. That's at least what it seems like. I'm not certain, but that's what talk about is with the Motorola Edge. Apparently, is what it's gonna be. Kind of like the Samsung
Uh,
Galaxy Edge.
Other channels I do follow. I've mentioned this briefly in our group chat, but I've never actually sat down and talked about it.
Hmm.
Earthbound.
Yes.
You know how it's in 2D.
Yeah. There was almost a
At one, there people have been able to recover the unreleased beta
yeah.
of
Oh,
the 64
yeah. I know it's unbelievable. Oh God. I remember hearing about that so long ago. Like Jesus.
Yeah, I've recently I've been getting back into like the unreleased betas or like the lost archives.
Mm-hmm.
Like recently I started unpacking my archive for Half-Life 2, the unreleased beta.
Yeah.
Uh, I keep forgetting how detailed Valve was. The game was almost finished before that major leak happened years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking about Valve again, Half-Life Alex received a perfect score
Good. Good.
across the board.
Yeah. It's a really good game, man. I'm still down to look at a possible investment in doing a stream for it. Obviously, right now that's gonna look really tough, but man, it would be worth it. It will be worth waiting and investing eventually.
I mean, I'm halfway done. I'm like halfway there for like the pricing.
Oh, yeah. I
Like if we
I mean,
if we can
are
split it,
has do is there any like news or anything? Because some companies have had to slow down production and fulfillment of orders. I don't know if Valve has had any issues with their supply and production. Um, but some companies are suffering in that way. I don't know. Oh, did we just lose John? Uh oh. This is exactly what I was afraid of. In that case, is the stream still going? Hello? Clock's still going. Well, it looks like we lost John for the moment. Um, but it looks like we're still connected. Hopefully.
Hello.
Hello?
I hit my USB port and it just working everything.
Isn't that the same thing that happened the last time we tried to do a call?
Yes. I've yet to repair that port.
Mm. But I was saying that I don't know if Valve is dealing with any production issues for their products.
As far as I know, they have not mentioned anything.
Okay, I mean, some companies are dealing with it. So some companies aren't having any issues. Amazon is still going about orders. Some of them have been slowed down, but I mean, I've still had Prime shipping on a few smaller things. But I'm I'm trying to avoid ordering non-essential things just because I know that a lot of people still have to go into work and they're not getting proper uh
Near.
well, yeah, like they're not getting proper treatment or reimbursement for their work like the way they normally would, in response to the virus. So I'm trying to not go about. I'm trying not to shop so much. That and I'm saving money that way. But still, with the whole thing with Half-Life Alex, I would definitely be down for possible um, investment into doing a playthrough when that seems possible. When we have at a better time.
You wanna know how dedicated the community on Steam is?
How?
Within a week, they started modding it to play without the Vive.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, like the developers are like, yeah, we're not surprised. We're actually okay with it.
Do it! I dare you.
Actually, no. That was like the first couple days. Within the first week, they got multiplayer working on it.
Praise.
They got multiplayer
That's
working
amazing.
on
What?
a single player game.
That is
They did that.
nuts. That is unbelievable. We have technology.
Modern problems, modern solutions.
Yeah.
Good mining.
Also, so we're talking about all of this history being made and has been made in developing. I forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about services. Unity actually has made their premium developing tutorials free.
Yeah,
Yeah, from now until July.
as well. What? Yeah, all of their tools are open
Mm-hmm.
at the moment.
Yeah, the whole premium tutorial is available. So if you ever wanted to learn about developing games, um, you know, I would definitely look at that. That's like a free college credit, right? I mean, not really, but like in terms of the knowledge you can get, that's
Um,
very valuable opportunity.
you know the game Gary's Mod?
Of course.
The creator Gary Newman
Yeah.
has been teasing nonstop on Twitter
Oh,
about Gary's Mod 2.
but why?
And then he asked, what engine would everyone want to play on? Everyone voted on Switch.
Oh, I
Switch is still
see.
brand new and is still young.
Hmm. Because I mean, Gary's Mod is one of those games where it's like, oh, you can just keep playing it forever. Um.
Yeah.
So think of a second one. It's like, wait, but why? Oh, you say a
Well,
new engine.
yeah.
Hmm. That's hot.
What I was saying was, I still remember playing Gary's Mod 10, and then Gary's Mod, the brand new update, which is now the modern update.
So let me ask you this question now, John.
Uh oh.
At at what point was Gary's mod considering? At what point was Gary's mod considered a game, and at what point was it considered a new game? And also, is it an old game because it's still updated? Hmm.
It's still. It was considered a game when it first became separate from the Half-Life 2 engine, the actual game.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It became official when it went for sale on Steam.
So when was it a game? When it was released on Steam, or when it was coded to be outside of Half Life Two?
I'm gonna pull up right now
I mean, I feel like these are all just like subjective questions about online games.
because the modern update came out back in 2013,
I was gonna say 13. I think.
but that was a modern update. The game was officially released in 2006, according to Steam.
Jesus. Because I remember we had this whole conversation about Minecraft and when it was considered to be officially released, when it was considered to be a game, because of the whole best games of the decade thing last year when we were talking about that.
And here's how I can describe Garry's Mod. Garry's Mod is a base for everything. All the game modes came off of a lot of game modes came off of that.
Of course.
Prop hunt,
Yeah.
trouble terrorist camp, murder.
Yeah. Gary's mod is so. Here's the funny thing about Gary's mod is that it's one of a few one of very few very popular games that came out of a skeleton of another game and then became the skeleton of dozens of other games.
A lot of
You
people
know.
keep forgetting about it, but when you come back, it's just another rabbit hole.
Yeah. I guess so. Well, John, we're already past. We're already well past an hour, my man. I realized that as we lost connection with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So that's pretty much our time.
All
Before
right, guys, get out of my house.
Hey, before we go, reminder for our sponsors. You know, we got to go over this, especially since we didn't mention it in the beginning, John.
You know, I have priorities.
So if you haven't already, please definitely check out our fundraiser on GoFundMe going towards Project Cure, so we can support our hospitals and provide PPE to them, and also. This is always sponsored by Anchor. You can listen to our podcast on Anchor, and if you are a podcaster or just chatter, definitely recommend using Anchor so you can have your podcast or whatever you use on every platform possible. Anchor will put your podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Podcasts and pretty much any podcasting service for free, and get you started on getting getting monetization for no minimums. And FNX. Do you work out? Are you still working out at home? Are you making are you still making games despite of the gym being closed? You got weights at home. You're going on runs. You're staying active. Use FNX. Oh,
I'm not.
I am. Yeah, damn it. Get the camera on me. Use FNX if you desire using high quality supplements and sportwear for your gains. Highly recommend FNX. They are our sponsor. Link in the description. That's all I got.
It's yeah, it's. I got nothing other than Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing that's ruining my life.
I'm not even playing enough games. I'm watching too much TV right now and still working.
I don't have time to watch TV. I got Animal Crossing to balance. I gotta take care of my loans, or not. My kneecaps are broken, and Doom Eternal, where I break other people's kneecaps.
I see. Okay.
Doom Eternal is. I'm gonna be honest. Quick review. Solid gold.
Oh yeah.
It's solid gold
Good
from the
game.
music to the gameplay.
Good game. Yeah.
Uh, Especially since I
They did what?
They use a lawnmower as an instrument.
I did not know that. I did not know that part.
Yeah, Mick Gordon is out of his mind.
No, that's genius. That's like Tchaikovsky when he first decided to use cannons as instruments for the original rendition of 1812 Overture. You cannons aren't instruments? Yes, they are. I'm going to use 21 of them. Tchaikovsky, no. Tchaikovsky, yes. Well, thank you all so much for watching and listening on whatever platform you're doing so. Be sure to come back next time we go about this. I'm down to try to go about this next week if you are available, John. We'll stay in contact in terms of that, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I'm down for another
Yeah.
weekend.
We'll see in retrospect. We'll see in retrospect with how this went because this is a whole new format we're doing the podcast in now. So we'll see how it looks and we'll move on from there. But in the meantime, have a fantastic day.
Have a fantastic.
Have a fantastic time. Have a fantastic day.
Yeah. All right. I sent you the song with the lawnmower.
You sent me the song with the lawnmower.
Yeah, it's synthesized.
Nice.